No. Pause. Oh my god. This stream is so scuffed. Go away. Yeah. Oh my god. New era, new cars, practically everything, and we return for the Japanese Grand Prix this weekend. Last time out we went racing in China. We're now here at Japan, and we're about to get the racing action underway in free practice one. This should be a very interesting weekend. 53 laps, 5.807 kilometers, 3.6 miles, and circuit elevation of approximately 40 meters. Going up and down in both directions. Gerhard Berger was the first winner here in 1987, and Michael Schumacher has the most wins. And last year's winner, Max Verstappen, last year in 2025. But with Mercedes, that could be topped off. Welcome in, Elizabeth. Welcome in, welcome in. Soft compound tyres are the softer of the three compounds this weekend. C3, C2, and the C1. I myself am expecting the C1 tyre to be used quite a lot. Didn't even get a notification. I was just refreshing. Oof. I did actually have to reset the stream due to the orientation. It was all messed up for some reason. YouTube didn't like me for that, so yeah. Air temperature here in Japan, 28 degrees, 34 degrees track temperature, and we're about to get free practice one underway here. But let's now hand it down to the pit lane with the Sky Sports F1 pit wall. It's Bernie Collins. She's up there this weekend.
The merchandise store is enormous right now. I counted 10 lines of snake queuing up to go and buy the merchandise because they all want to show. I mean, they come with these fantastic hats and helmets and things as well. Some of the ingenuity is incredible.
I do love the creativity. There's a lot, even in the paddock, people with different hats, different.
Apparently not. Apparently Bernie Collins is not on the pit wall. She's up in the commentary box for Sky Sports F1 this session. So, no Bernie Collins on the pit wall. We'll have to see what happens. I think Ted Kravitz might be down in the pit lane and we might be crossing over at some point. But yes, so gay then? No. My stream had the wrong orientation. It was up this way, not this way. I don't know why you think that. So you said we wanted to change the orientation of the stream. Yes, I did. We've got Rachel Brooks, Jensen Button, and Bernie Collins up in the combox. Elizabeth, what will I do with you? George Russell currently leads the championship. 4 points back to Kimi Antonelli, Charles Leclerc, and Lewis Hamilton. It's been very much a Mercedes and Ferrari domination this week. And Ted Kravitz down in the pit lane.
Where it says Ineos. So I just want to show you this before the car goes out to the garage, because Mercedes have a bit of investigation to do as to what their front wing is doing. If you've been following some of the motorsport stuff since the Chinese Grand Prix, you'll know this was an area of interest from teams, Ferrari and McLaren, and just as Kimi Antonelli goes out, that caught my eye. So one of the things Mercedes have to understand is what exactly their front wing flat part of the active aero is actually doing. So that's a test for this session. And as for the rest of the team, well, to quote the circuit announcer, Rachel, the great Bob Constanduros, Kimi Raikkonen on the podium. And that's why, if you're watching China and Kimi Antonelli going on the podium and him coming out and shrugging his shoulders,
how long will it last?
And you thought that was a bit of a strange victory
this stream?
that was why Kimi was
More than an hour?
to his namesake, the Finnish world champion.
Most likely.
Of course, I can tell you, Rachel, he was going to do the Usain Bolt lightning pose. That was the pose that Kimi Antonelli was planning on doing, having won his first Grand Prix. But instead he came out with a bit of a shoulder shrug. And why are they calling me Kimi Raikkonen? Anyway, we're all ready to go down here.
Okay.
Great stuff, Nathan. I think you should keep the shoulder shrug.
Yeah, shoulder shrug might have to stay. That might have to stay. Or I will pass out. Yeah, either one of those. If I don't hear from you for at least more than 15 minutes, then you've passed out. You will be dead. So yeah, my prediction was very much correct. All the cars heading out on the harder tyre this weekend due to the C1. The first time that these cars have actually run the C1 tyre this year in terms of racing spec. So again, they did use it in Bahrain. Wind. Okay, yep. Window is going to have to be closed. I opened that for fresh air, but window is going to have to be closed. We've had some extremely strong winds here in Australia today. They've been like, 15, 20 k's an hour. Flipping heck, it's awful. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. But yeah, this is technically the first time that these cars have run the C1 tyre this weekend in genuine race weekend trim. They did run it in pre-season testing, but they have not run it since. So we'll see how that plays out this weekend and see how the cars deal with that. But yeah, expect this C1 hard tyre to be used quite a bit throughout this weekend, and especially whilst the track is green, of course, in the early phase of the weekend. My track book is over on the cupboard, so let me quickly go grab that, so that I actually know all the corner names, because unlike last weekend, there's corner names. And Elizabeth, you know just how bad I am at remembering names. We know that from Italian F4. Jesus. Not Monza. Jesus. We know how bad I am. Especially from Italian F4. Flippin' heck, I'm absolutely awful. Awful. Absolutely awful. Oh, apparently they don't have corner names here. Jesus Christ, what am I going to do with my life? Do they? Do they? Oh, yeah, no, they do. I was looking at the wrong track. It was Shanghai, not bloody flipping. Okay. But yeah, there are corner names this weekend. So we've got 130R, which I knew. I knew there was 130R. I knew there was Spoon Curve, Casio Triangle. I actually didn't even know any of these. So don't doubt me on all these. Because I will get them wrong. Not gonna lie, this circuit is cool in the way, like the fast flowing sort of spit everywhere. Jesus Christ, this stream has not started well. I like the way that this track it has a good flow to it. This circuit does. It has a good flow to it. We've got the S's section of turn 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We've got the two Dagners, which is turn 8, turn 9. Very high-speed corners around this circuit, which will make for some exciting racing, especially some side-by-side racing. I also do like 130R, which we're seeing the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton make his run through at the moment. Probably my favourite part of the circuit is 130R, because in these cars, not in these cars, but in the last generation of cars, you could hold 130R flat. You can't hold 130R flat anymore in these new cars, because of course, less downforce. They only have about a few hundred kilos of downforce now, which you might be wondering, flipping heck, that's a lot. But these cars had 1,000 downforce, 1,000 kilos of downforce last year. In the older generation, they took off like nearly half of that. Wipe about half of 1,000 kilos off this car, and see how grippy you feel. It's not grippy at all. It doesn't feel good. So yeah, in the first practice session for today, we've got a few reserve drivers jumping in. We've got Jack Crawford in one of the Aston Martins, which this Aston Martin this year, flipping heck, has not finished a race yet. Is that a good sign? Probably not. not a good sign in terms of reliability. Not exactly what we like to see. Ted Kraut's in the pit lane.
And the reason for all these error rates is that they need the information to analyse and get solutions for in the spring break. Team radio?
So the brakes are really cold. And it's like pulling. Well, they shot the car, why is it pulling like this? Can't drive.
Oh dear.
So,
have a look at that. I wanted actually to get to Red Bull later because they have got a really significant upgrade package. Look at the side pods if you can, if the car's not pulling to one side too much. Look at the side pods and see how shrunken they are to the bodywork underneath. So shrunk that they're actually exposing the side impact structure. It's acting like a little wing. Anyway, have a look at that on the Red Bull. But on the Aston Martin, on the Audi, on the McLaren down here at Lando Norris's car, these big error rates, because they need that information to analyse in Formula One's 4-week spring break coming up, of course, with the enforced cancellation of those 2 Grand Prix in the Middle East. And that's all an engineer needs, is to create a complete picture, aero-wise, of the car at various stages. That's why they're also keen to get out. That's why we're seeing so many error rates in this FP1.
So what we heard there from Isaac Hadjar, saying he had brake pull. I'll get to that question about who's going to win this weekend in a minute. But the insane brake pull from Isaac Hadjar, sort of when the brake is... Wait, you know in a car, you know in an everyday car when the brake pedal goes long? I don't think that happens in everyday cars, actually. No. So how am I going to explain this? So, yeah, when the brake pedal goes long, you hit the brake pedal and nothing happens. That's sort of what Isaac Hadjar's dealing with right now. When you hit the brake pedal and the brake doesn't do what the brake is meant to do, and it's not going to slow the car down. So, you are, in every situation and in every word of the situation, you will go straight in the fence. And it will hurt. We are currently looking, speak of the devil, Isaac Hadjar getting over the curb, through, where's that? That is the Casio Triangle, on the exit of the Casio Triangle, just got a little bit sideways, I can't even tell you what that would have been. So, on the exit of the chicane, turn 16, 17 and 18 on the run to the front straight, he's just sort of put on the I was saying, did the pulling improve on that lap? Yeah, it was a bit better. I didn't even, why did I not play the radio message? Jesus Christ. So yeah, on the exit of the chicane, he's just sort of like put the power down a bit too early. He's just gone snapped. Flipping egg. Okay. So, Elizabeth's saying prediction for a winner. I'll get to my predictions a bit later on in that show. Yo, this is not a show. I'll get to my predictions as to who is going to win this weekend. I will. For a genuine winner, I'm not going to say Red Bull. Red Bull is a bit too much of a... Yeah, Red Bull doesn't have pace. So I'm going to say Kimi Antonelli can do... He can win again. I have a feeling Kimi Antonelli can get his second win of the year in 2 straight races. That would be sick. That would be cool. That would be cool to see that happen. But yeah, that would be cool to see that happen. I was getting to another point. I was getting to another point. I was going to get to another point. I just can't remember what it was. Flipping heck. I'm having a shocker this stream. Actually having a shocker. So yeah, we've got reserve drivers out there this weekend as well. Reserve drivers for this session, for this first free practice session. We've got Jack Crawford out there. I think he's actually the only one out there that is in the reserve drivers seat. As far as I can see, yes, Jack Crawford is the only one out there. Possibly replacing Fernando Alonso. That has actually been confirmed. I'm sorry, this is not just for this session. It's for the weekend. So Jack Crawford will be replacing Fernando Alonso due to family issues, he has said in the over social media. So Fernando Alonso will not be at this weekend. Jack Crawford will be replacing him. So it's just not for this session. It will be for the entirety of the weekend. As far as I know, Jack Crawford will be replacing Fernando Alonso. George Russell at the moment about half a second up through the second sector as he makes his run now into the Casio Triangle. He makes his run through and out the other side, getting the power down and run to the line. George Russell goes to the top now by 0.3 of a second. It's 132.4. There are also a couple of cars out there on the medium tyre, which is the C2 as well. George Russell said, "This is one of my best circuits in the world. Every driver loses to drive around here." That's what he said in the paddock interview on Thursday. This is one of the best circuits in the world, and every driver loves to drive around here. That's according to George Russell. I don't feel like Suzuka is the best circuit. Yes, it's a flowy sort of circuit, but I don't like Suzuka. I don't like Suzuka on the F1 game. It could be different in real life, and I can tell you this much, it definitely will be different in real life. But I don't like it as a circuit. I don't. Currently riding on boards with Kimi Antonelli as he makes his run up through the hairpin of turn 11. On the circuit at the moment, so turn 11, making his run up through. Now into Spoon Curve, judging by the game. Yes, I don't like Japan in the game. It could be different in real life. I could love it in real life. And to be honest, if I did get the chance to go to Japan, I probably would love it. I probably would. So to be honest, I'm not going to judge Japan at all. In the way that it looks, I'm not going to judge it. So yeah, that times are continuing to tumble. Kimi Antonelli, 10th at the moment, and goes to 4th, about half a second off his teammate, Ted Kravitz.
A leak mat underneath the car. Can you see this? I think that might be for some aeros and flow viz that they're putting on. But the front left, as we look at it, tyre is just going on. There you see the engineering of the flow viz. They've actually just finished fixing something on the front right, front left as we look at it, the front right corner. So that job is done, and now they can get the car out. But how many minutes have we done now? 12, Rach?
Yes, 11:42.
Yeah, and he's been in the garage. I don't think he's done any laps so far, has he, Albon?
Yeah, it has been out.
He has been out.
Done one.
He's done one. Okay, all right. So they finally get to do the flow viz, and then I will evade your view once again. Go back down to McLaren. They weren't just taking that aero rake off Lando Norris's car. That was the delay. They might have been checking something in the back, but I didn't see it was a problem. And I'll go down there and double check for you.
Great stuff. Thanks, Ted. Keep out of the way when he pulls out of the garage in that Williams, by the way.
Yes, so Alex Albon pulling out of the pit lane and being told by the commentary team up on Sky Sports F1 to just keep out of the way so that he doesn't get hit by that car. Not the ideal whatsoever. We're riding on board now with Sergio Perez as he makes his run up through and into the first Dagna. I do like the Dagna section of the circuit. It's a fast, flowy circuit, and I've said this already, but I like it. That's probably the only part I like about it. And just because, the flowy sort of feel of the circuit. Charles Leclerc goes to the top over George Russell. It's a 132.2. To give you an indication as to the lap record around here, in 2023, the pole time was 128.8. We're currently on a 132.2. And that was in 2023. So we are on race pace at the moment. Definitely not in qualifying pace yet. But yeah, that was the lap time in 2023. This is 2026. So 128.8. We'll see if that actually breaks this weekend, or if it doesn't. We'll see. Sergio Perez makes his run up into P14. Now, and unlike the last few rounds we've had in China, sprint rounds this weekend. So 3 practice sessions to run through Franco Colapinto, maybe just explaining to his engineer the feel of the car. By the way, his hand was going around in circles. Doesn't seem like he likes the car at this very point. Max Verstappen, big sideways moment into the Casio Triangle of the chicane. Big anti-lock. Yeah. That's, my friend, is the rear tyres locking into the Casio triangle. There wouldn't be a mark on those rear tyres, but I would somewhat think they'd hurt a little bit more. They'd be a bit overheated by that. Elizabeth Hall says, do you usually more people here? I mean, at those 2 a.m. streams. Like, these streams? Like, at these streams, do you mean? Do I normally get more people at these streams? Well, I mean, I got, like, nearly 6 people. Like 5, 6 people here last week. So, maybe. But then, yet again, it's 2 a.m. for most countries at the moment. So, you know, I think people have gone to bed by this time. Yeah, it wasn't bad. Wasn't bad. But then, yet again, you don't really get much excitement out of free practice. Seems I scared everyone away. You are a scary person when you need to be. So that could be the case. It could be the case. You might just be an extremely scary person. You might just be. It might be an extremely scary person. It might just be the reason. You never know. Carl Sainz at the moment in position 10. And making his run now up to the Casio triangle. And on the brakes, getting the car slowed down. Absolutely pounding the curbs. Now the curbs are, they've sort of been flattened out over the years. Could be. Indeed, you could be. Could be. The cars the curbs have been flattened out over the years so that the cars aren't absolutely violating them in every chance of the words. They have been flattened out quite a bit, so that is good to see. Currently looking at Franco Colapinto, so maybe a bit of a comfortability issue, and you want to try and get that out of the way in the first free practice session. Back down to Ted's in McLaren.
And the reason you saw Franco Colapinto out of the car was because his radio isn't working. Ironically, in Japan, where they've been leading the field in radio technology over the last 50 years or so, but they had to get Franco out of the car so they could fix his ship-to-shore radio. But they are doing that, and he'll be back in the car shortly.
Great, thank you very much, Ted, for the moment, as we see pull off sides going wide as well.
It's about 5 minutes behind.
That Williams, it's been a tough start to the season for Williams this year.
It has been a tough start to the season. I mean, we did see last year for Williams that they were very, very strong in the early part of the weekend. But as the track got better, it seems like everybody sort of caught them in the way of pace. Yeah, it doesn't matter about the delay, exactly. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about the delay. Really, doesn't. It doesn't. You know, it's something that I find that keeps me awake. Just, like, turn your phone up to, like, full brightness. Turn your phone up to, like, full brightness. You know, that might help. Oscar Piastri, the Australian, has not started a Grand Prix in 2026 so far. The guy that was fighting for a championship last year has scored 4 points throughout the whole entire year. So Oscar Piastri will not be fighting for a championship this year unless he wins every race from now on. Which, flipping heck, I don't think that'll be happening. I think that will happen. But yeah, Oscar Piastri, when you compare it to last year to now, you'd think he'd be P1 in the championship. But he's not. McLaren are struggling at the moment. They are very much struggling. Top 4 separated by less than a tenth. It's a 132.2. The time to beat. That would shrink my eyes faster than Eskimo's scrotum. Well, it works for me. It works for me. I'm going to add that to the saying list for Elizabeth. That is Elizabeth's new saying. Put that down as Elizabeth's new saying for the year. Oh, that's hilarious. Eskimojo's scrotum. That's going down in the saying list. Flippin' heck. Jeez, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. That is hilarious. just... Oh, that's actually... That's hilarious. Oh. Yeah, no, I'm going to remember that. But then yet again, I can't remember names, so I'm screwed when it comes to that. I'm absolutely screwed. We've got 35 minutes remaining in this session. So yeah, about 25 minutes gone. Kimi Antonelli, the first Italian to win a Grand Prix since Fischella in 2006. So that is a long time ago. Must I admit, very long time ago. So it's interesting, funnily enough. It's interesting. We've seen Mercedes, and I'm wondering if Mercedes will be as dominant when it comes to Miami in 1 month's time for our spring break. Have you caught up on all the streams? No. I have not. Actually, I'm not caught up on all the streams. Elizabeth, I've still got like 1, 2, 3. Wait, 1, 2. I'm trying more. Jesus. 4, 5, 6. I got 7 streams, and they're all 10 hours. They're all nearly 10 hours long. So no, I haven't caught up. I'm majorly backed up, must I say? Majorly backed up with all the streams. I'm waiting for the school holidays to come around so I can stream flipping 10 hours a day. Yeah. So yeah, I'm majorly backed up. I've got 70 hours worth of streaming to do over 2 weeks. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. 70 hours of streaming to do over the next 10 weeks. Lando Norris off the road as he made his way into Spoon Curve. And that was turn 14 that he made that mistake. So the car's slightly wide. Offline possibly a little bit. Of course, that racing line is not formed in the early part of free practice 1 here. This is where he sort of went off. So he's just sort of got up on that green apron and just gone off the road. As I think he's just sort of snapped in the rear end and it's gone off. So it's unfortunate. But the sun has now decided to come out. Not liking that. So let's close that. So yeah, big snap there for Lando Norris, and has got off the road. You can see the amount of dust that has already built up off the outside of the circuit down there. It's insane. It is absolutely insane, the amount of dust off racing line this weekend. George Russell now goes to the top and showing the pace on those soft compound tyres. He's at a 131.7 in the early part of free practice 1. And in Kimi Antonelli, he's also on the soft compound tyres and is about a 2/10 off his teammate. Does he go second? Indeed, he does. 2/10 off his teammate. 131.7 in the overall part of the lap there. A few Japanese fans congratulating Kimi Antonelli on his win just a fortnight ago. Congratulating him on that. Here is Lando Norris in his McLaren. This is exactly what happened to him. In the Spoon Curve, just got up on the apron on the outside where it's not rubbered in whatsoever and has made that unfortunate mistake. I don't know if it was the apron or if it was just understeer. The track is still quite green in the early part of free practice 1, so maybe struggling with a bit of understeer, but you don't want to tune it too much on a big flat spot on Kimi Antonelli's tyres, on cold tyres, and it's locked up at the hairpin. So, mistake there for Kimi Antonelli, and that probably would have cost him those 2/10 he was looking for. But then, yet again, George Russell did go to the top before him, so maybe that wasn't the real effect of what happened there. As we watch Charles Leclerc make his way back into the pit lane. It's been a strong start for Ferrari. Leclerc said over the radio, was enjoying this battle with Lewis Hamilton back at Shanghai. About 30 laps in, had a battle with his teammate, Lewis Hamilton. Very much enjoyed it, he said. And he wants to see more of that in this new generation of car. So we'll see if that happens. Lando Norris has not set a time on those medium tyres. He's just set a time, but it's 40 seconds off the pace. Okay, I'm off school tomorrow. 1 a.m. is really an overkill. Okay, see ya, Elizabeth. See you later. See you later. See you later. Hulkenberg in the Audi now, making his run up through the S's, through turn 3, 4, 5, and 6, and also through 7. See you, Elizabeth. Catch you later. 31 minutes to go in this session as we watch the Audi of Nico Hulkenberg make his run now through both the Dagners, up through the hairpin now. It's personal best through the first sector with just over half an hour to go at the moment. So still quite a chunk of this session remaining. Max Verstappen now on his medium tyres. Hasn't popped himself up at a P8, but it's quite an interesting factor. Lando Norris has not set a time on those mediums. We'll see if he can actually end up setting a time. It'll be quite important for his weekend. George Russell.
I think the wind is picking up. Seeing these flags.
So we are seeing 20 kph off the P2.
So George Russell there complaining about the wind. And probably where that wind will be affecting him is through turn 1 and turn 2. Up through the S's. Wind is a big factor this weekend as well. Hulkenberg up into P8, 1.3 seconds off the pace now. And the other place that maybe that would have affected Norris in terms of when he went off at Spoon Curve, where that probably would have affected him, is the wind. On the entry to Spoon Curve, just sort of understeered a little bit and it's just gone off the road, and that's probably where it would have affected him, and that's how he probably would have gone off the road. But I reckon that will improve throughout the weekend, and more the track will grip up as well throughout the weekend, so that will become less of a problem even with the high wind conditions. We do have Ferrari Challenge here this weekend, but again, it's been a couple of hours since they went out. Of course, Porsche Carrera Cup Japan, he was here as well. Bortoleto caught up in the press conference room.
Different perspective, you know. I think he couldn't commit to the project fully because he had personal things that, as he made it public, and when you have personal things that you need to put in place, that's the priority. And so yeah, I wouldn't say it's a surprise. Obviously, it's a short period of time. It's only 2 races. He has been with us last year as well, so it's not that he only had done 2 races. But yeah, it's not that we are getting someone new as well. You know, we have Mattia that has been with the project for quite a while now,
the apron?
And he was already, you know, taking all the leadership all this way as well. And but now he's just taking more and more responsibility.
I think only time will tell, and you know, obviously I don't have any more information or no more than what's been said and then what's been released. There seemed to be, you know, some sort of an issue on his personal side, and you know, he wasn't or couldn't commit for the long term, so the team decided to release him off his duty, you know, understandably. The rest is history, and only the future will tell now.
Not sure what they were talking about, but so it was the apron that was on the outside of the circuit down there. I thought it was just possibly the wind, but again, could be either. Could be. We're running on board now with Isaac Hadjar as he makes his run on the Exeter Spoon Curve down the back straight and into 130R. Probably the favourite part, probably my favourite part on the circuit. As well. For 130R and now into the Casio Triangle, turn 16, 17 and 18. And now, run to the line. Can Isaac Hadjar get anywhere close to Kim Antonelli? No, he cannot. But he improves his lap time by just over 1/10 of a second. It is a 132.7 for Isaac Hadjar. We've just got over about 28 minutes to go as Liam Lawson makes his run to the line, and that was nearly 20 seconds off the pace. So, obviously made a mistake there for Lawson. But yeah, it's 131.6 opening up the times for Kimi Antonelli. Bit of wing damage, what looks to be on the front of the Red Bull. They're replacing, that is Max Verstappen, replacing the front wing on that car, quite interestingly.
They will get to grips with it, but what happens is you come to a circuit like Suzuka, you've done a lot of simulations back in the factory, you've ran through the simulator, they will have their best guess at
again, that wind for Liam Lawson has caught him out. It's caught another driver out. Spoon Curve seems to be catching a lot of drivers out in this session. On the entry to Spoon Curve, I'm not sure if it's that green. Oh no, not the green apron. Could have been. It's either the wind or it's the flipping green apron. It has caught it has caught Liam Lawson out there. It's either one. It's either one. I won't be completely sure until we find out. But yeah, George Russell, 4/10 up through the second sector on another set of the soft tyres as he makes his run now into the Casio Triangle. And out the other sides, George Russell trying to make his appearance to the top, and that is what looks to be a Cadillac in the way of said George Russell, but still goes to the top by just over 0.02 of a second to 1:31.6, and that was Sergio Perez that was getting in the way of George Russell on his flying lap there in that Mercedes. What has been the extremely fast Mercedes this weekend so far. Even throughout the year, it's been extremely fast. We see a bit of dust being kicked up from the preceding car of Lando Norris. Lando Norris has actually not set a representative time. He's at a 1:32.6 of the representative time there. We're still about 3 seconds off the pace of qualifying in 2023. We're 4 seconds off the pace of 2025 last year. So still a long way off in terms of pace. This year, we're taking a look at the microsectors of Lando Norris, about 1 second down on George Russell. This will vault him up to about P6 for the world champion of Lando Norris. P6, that it does. About 0.8 off the pace of George Russell. And those Mercedes, that's the gap that we're looking at the moment. About half a second on those soft tyres is the gap that Merc have. This is Alex Albon. This was the dust that was preceding Lando Norris, and that was Alex Albon going off the road and actually tapping the barrier with the rear left of that Williams just into the entry of the hairpin. He's lost the car in the rear end, maybe just bottomed out and has gone straight off the road, had nowhere else to go. And a slight, very, very slight tap with the tyre barrier down there for that Williams of Alex Albon as we look in slow-mo. Take cards.
Seemed to find a part of the car that they needed to inspect further, but that is all buttoned up now, and Hamilton is about to go out. By the way, he's got a special white crash helmet design here, so if you see a Ferrari with a white crash helmet, you think, oh, Charles Leclerc must have gone fully white crash helmet. It's not. It's Hamilton. It's not yellow this weekend. And also Max Verstappen has just been in to do a quick pit stop to change the front nose cone. Rachel, I think you saw that about a minute ago, as they're evaluating their upgrade package as well.
Thank you, Ted. There are some fantastic helmet designs this week up and down that pit lane. Yeah, Gasly's got a beautiful one. Lots of fantastic art on show.
Yeah, I did see a couple of the Japan liveried F1 cars. They are very, very exciting. Very, very cool. Lewis Hamilton showing off his Japanese culture this weekend. I think most tracks that we go to this year will have sort of a springish sort of vibe. Japan very much gives off a springy sort of vibe. Always clear here in Japan. I don't think we've had a wet race here in Japan in quite a while. But then yet again, I say that I feel like we've had that in the recent past, like a wet race. It's interesting. Jack Crawford on his first run. And has lost nearly 30 minutes of this session with what I would think to be reliability issues. So Aston Martin still struggling, and Jack Crawford in his first run in F1 car. I mean, he's done testing in this car before. He's done a couple of laps, but like he hasn't done a full race weekend, so it's going to be a long way off the pace coming into this weekend. At this point, this lap is only going to be good for position 21 for Jack Crawford as he makes his run up through and into the Casio Triangle. And now at the other side, getting the power down, run of the line, stays P22 for Jack Crawford to 137.0 for that Aston Martin. So yeah, Jack Crawford did quite well in F2 last year as well. This is Charles Leclerc on the soft tyres. Big sideways moment. And unfortunately, those soft tyres will be quite the way overheated after that moment there for Sir Lewis Hamilton. This is Kimi Antonelli being caught up. Sorry, this is George Russell on that lap that we saw.
What is it you're doing?
Oh, sure.
Who was that?
Perez.
Must be Paris, obviously.
George on the radio findings. We have just over 21 minutes left on this session. At the moment, it is George Russell in the Mercedes who's quickest with a 1:31.6, just ahead of his teammate, just 200ths behind him.
So yeah, about 200 off the pace for Kimi Antonelli. That 200ths can be found in throughout the weekend. So don't expect to see that in this session.
The biggest problem is you have cars flying past on fast laps.
And this was Carlos a moment ago.
Gone in a little bit hard, you can see the front left grab and it's pushing wide. You don't actually lose too much time there because you get the car turned nicely for a good exit.
Little lock up on the way in. But we're now watching Kimi Antonelli. This is George Russell on track at the moment. Still quickest at the moment, George Russell with a 1:31.6. Not improving yet on this lap.
Well, then he's back on the hard tyres.
Sorry.
He's doing some long running to finish the session because he was actually one of the first people to put on the soft tyre and do that very, very fast lap. So they ran the soft early, they're getting a bit of DNI on this long run. Maybe related to the issues maybe related to the issues of last week, we don't know, but you often see teams try and get a bit of a long run at the end of the P1 session. It's a first look at what you might do with car setup for the P2 session. So it is valuable data, although it doesn't directly translate to the race.
Ted, what have you got for us?
Rachel, thank you very much. Lots going on down here. I'll give you an Aston Martin line a bit later on what they're doing in this session to try and find solutions for their particular problems on the power unit. But let me show you the front wing of the Haas, because they have an upgrade, lots of upgrades actually up and down the pit lane, and it's on the front wing activation of the active aero activation. So they learnt from some other cars once they debuted in testing. They've actually simplified and made it a more efficient front wing with that activation to put down the back two elements of the front wing when the active aero kicks in. So it's taken them more or less from testing the start of the year to now to get it built, designed, built, and on the car. But it's both on Ollie Behrman and Esteban Ocon's car. You're looking at Behrman, he's headed. He hopes for a good weekend. The Ferrari power unit working well for him. The car, one of the best Haas have ever made. And yeah, it's going well so far down here at Haas. But they are just evaluating this front wing because, as we know, Bernie and Jensen, it does change everything, doesn't it? The first thing that meets the airflow.
Well, we can actually ask their team principal, Ted. Thank you very much for the moment, because Ayo Komatsu was on the pit wall for us this weekend. Ayo, it's great to chat to you. Yes, tell us a little bit more about the parts you brought this weekend, the updates, and what you're hoping to see.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, it's just a small updates on the front wing, just to tidy up the airflow quality. So hopefully front of the car works a bit more consistently.
We've been talking a lot about Japan and I love this place. Obviously it's a home race for you. You said you were in Tokyo. What does it mean? I've seen in the past lots of fans chasing you around for autographs and things, but what does a home race mean for you?
No, it's fancy, very great. You know, when I met Formula 1 when I was 14, you know, that started from this race, you know, in Suzuka, Senabasas Cross. So this is a place has a lot of memory for me.
Komatsu-san, Jensen here. I just want to ask you about your drivers. Obviously, with Esteban, a lot of experience. We know how quick he is, but more so about Ollie. You know, he's so young in this sport, but he seems to. It feels like he's been around for 10 years. I interviewed him yesterday, and he seems he's got his head screwed on. How do you feel about how he's performed, especially this year?
Yeah, I mean, his speed was never in doubt. He's naturally very, very quick guy. But what's more impressive, I'd say, is just his ability to absorb other information, digest it, and apply. So his improvement rate is phenomenal. Towards the end of last year, he improved massively. And then this year, with a much more complicated PU management from pre-season testing, he was working very well with everyone in the team. So things he does outside of the car is amazing. And then on track, past the races, he hasn't made any mistakes. And then under pressure, he performs even better.
Io, can I just ask you, I mean, he's the only driver outside of Mercedes and Ferrari who's scored in both Grand Prix and the sprint. How important is it as a team to have somebody that's consistently getting the performance out of the car for you at the moment?
Incredibly important, especially for the first several races. That's a chance for us. Sometimes if everybody's got reliability, sometimes it's difficult for us to race certain teams. But like a McLaren, last Sunday they had a problem, and we are there to take advantage of it. So it's very, very important to be able to perform consistently.
Great, thank you very much for the moment. I will talk to you again across the weekend. Thank you very much. Down there on the pit wall. Oh, there you go. Just as if by magic, confirmation of what I was just saying. He has put in some fantastic performances. As you say, you spoke to him. Anything you can tell us about your chat ahead of us soon?
It's good.
Is it?
Definitely.
So yeah, just a little graphic popped up just on your screen there. The only driver in both Grand Prix so far this year to score in both Grand Prix, including the sprint. Scored in the sprint. I think he scored like 2 or 3 points. So good banking of points for Haas so far this year. 22 points they've scored overall. 17 points they've scored in the team's championship. For Haas, so Haas looking like they are in quite a good position. Let's see if Behrman can actually keep up on that point-scoring performance. But still, at the moment, George Russell leads out in front. It's a 1:31.6 with 11.5 minutes to go.
It's a difficult one when you say that because the car goes as quick as it can. But he's doing an outstanding job, and hopefully that consistency continues this year.
And he's raising questions of Esteban Ocon as well. He's going to want to be getting some points on the board this weekend, not see that gap grow. The first thing that any of these guys want to beat is your teammate, and Ollie is showing that this year so far. So
They're fourth in the constructors.
yeah,
and it's all Ollie's points.
yeah.
Yes.
Which I mean.
We're 17 points.
Esteban's got to be looking at that and thinking he wants to be the lead driver in that team. And Esteban is very consistent. We've seen that in previous years, but Ollie is asking big questions of Esteban at the moment.
And he's talked about us having a good racing brain as well, and the way he deals with the races that unfolds as well, which has got to be really, really important to the team.
It is, and I think that's important that he's wanting to learn, wanting to improve, and really understand how complex these cars are. He mentioned in an interview, qualifying in Shanghai, that he pushed harder, was 2 tenths up because he went fast around the corners, but then he lost out because it used more battery. And understanding that and putting into practice in the next race is what he will do, and he'll maximise the tools that he has available.
He's 5th in the Drivers' Championship right now. Russell Antonelli, Leclerc, Hamilton, Behrman, and the team are 1 point behind McLaren. So, with a regulation change like this, if you're a team like Haas, if you can get points in those early races when others have reliability issues and struggling, as I intimated, it's hugely important for the team.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. You've got to, what I said there was, you've got to be in the position to gain the points where others fail. So 2 McLarens not running last weekend, there was big points available on the table, and you just need to get your race as well rounded as you possibly can. The strategy decisions that you make, how the drivers, and having a driver that really understands the regulation, as Jensen pointed out, makes everything so much easier. If you don't need to explain from the pit wall regulations under safety cars, just silly information like coming into the pit lane, the less communication that you need to do, the more the driver understands what to do. And we hear it so much from drivers complaining about other drivers or what they've done, or if they've closed the gap under safety car, for example. All these little things all adds up to the overall performance of the team.
Lewis Hamilton then on track at the moment. We just saw a shot actually of Oscar Piastri in the garage, and of course he hasn't done a Grand Prix racing lap yet this year. Managed to take part in the sprint, but tough start to this season for him for sure so far. It's P3 at the moment and put in some decent laps in that McLaren.
Yeah, he has. I think that's pretty good. 2/10 off. I'm not sure that George got the best out of the guy. That was on his second flying lap, and I don't think these guys are holding on very well. But yeah, he's in the mix. Interestingly, with the Mercedes, they've been running long run, high fuel, and they split the strategy. So George is on the hard tyre, and Antonelli, Kimi is on the soft. To really see the difference in degradation, really useful data for them, but also for us to understand.
Bernie, what are you thinking in terms of strategy for the race this weekend? I mean, there are teams at the moment who have, well, they're taking different options. Some run hard and soft, some have run the medium and soft. What are you thinking?
It's probably going to be a one-stop strategy with the hardest tyres potentially. I think previous years, a few years ago, Suzuka was more two-stop, but I think the tyres are a little bit harder. I think they're probably already come out and said that potentially for races going forward they might bring softer range of compounds, but obviously these races have been decided a long time ago which ones they take in terms of the soft, medium and hard, so there's potential there for that. But this is a race where a lot can happen. There's a lot of action. We've seen mistakes all through this session. One of those mistakes very easily leads to a safety car or VSC or something like that. So you just always need to be ready to react. And I think we're seeing in the flag the wind picks up quite a lot. It changes through the day in terms of direction as well. What direction it is through the S's makes quite a big difference to the car balance through there in particular. So yeah, there's a lot for drivers to get their head on top of to get into a race.
I don't know, I suppose P3,
Oh.
He's run on the softs, a spin there for the Williams. Gets going again though and back on track. Ted, what have you got for us?
You may have seen with your eagle eye, Rachel, there on the coverage, the picture-in-picture of Jack Crawford.
Yes.
The young American driver who's doing this FP1 for Aston Martin. Not in the car doing any more laps, but on the pit wall, talking to Mike Crack, who's actually
that might be a red
his,
flag.
his arm around him. The
Yep,
car
that'll
is
be
on
red
the
flag.
pits. It won't surprise you to hear. It's being worked on.
That's will be a red flag.
We don't have the information immediately from the team whether that's planned or whether there is a problem, but I can tell you what they have been doing during this session. Of course, Crawford had the aero rake on early on, and from the Honda way of...
Ted, just give us 1 second.
Yep,
We're just
sorry.
watching an Albon moment and there's some debris on track from his car, so we're just trying to see what's happened.
He's gone down the inside. Oh, the Cadillac's not seen him.
Oh, contact between the two.
Yeah, he was.
Terribly sorry.
They did look like they were both on flying laps. It's very difficult to see at that point. For Checo, I probably just didn't expect it.
Oh my God, I had no idea that the Williams were next to us. He crashed into me.
Yeah, and there's debris still on track at the moment. Wait to see what happens with that. Sorry, Ted, do carry on.
No, I mean, something like that happening in FP1 absolutely takes priority. Gosh, that's all Williams need. I hope that it hasn't damaged the front suspension fairings, which are new, but anyway, we'll get on to that. But yeah, as far as Honda, this session was all about working on the learnings from previous races, the two that we've had. They've been testing some solutions on the vibration. They've had better reliability so far, although the only 11 laps for Jack Crawford might get in the way of that. The vibrations for the battery are better, Honda say, but they are still translating to the driver.
How are you, Aaron?
So Alonso will be back, and hopefully that car will be repaired for FP2.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, Jack Crawford filling in for Fernando Alonso. I think it's for the weekend, funnily enough. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, bit of an incident there for that Williams, and that incident has been noted by race control or FIA, by the FIA there. So Albon and Perez incident noted. Into the Casio triangle, we've got less than 4.5 minutes to go. Just less than 4.5 minutes to go. The field has tightened up a little bit in terms of lap times. Turn 10 incident involving Carlos Sainz and Lawson has been noted. So both Williams cars are under investigation. And we're just about to finish free practice 1. We've got 4 minutes to go, and both Williams cars are under investigation. Interesting. Interesting. Few Japanese fans going for Oscar Piastri there. Daniel Kvyat was a good driver, but Red Bull his confidence. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. So yeah, I'm going to do now driver predictions as to exactly who will be strong, who will be weak. I normally do it within the last 10-15 minutes of the session, but world feed and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna say in terms of a podium situation this weekend, it's gonna be Jesus Christ. It's gonna be probably both Mercs that are gonna be up there. There's no doubt about it. Both Mercs will be up there in terms of pace. I don't know, maybe Ferrari have also caught up as well, but then that's like a boring prediction. It's like a boring prediction, then. Yeah, interesting. I'm going to say both Mercs are going to be up there in this session, in this weekend. Investigation after the session, Albon and Perez, so that will be investigated after the session. We're just under 20 minutes away from Free Practice 2 going live, so make sure you join me there for Free Practice 2 as well. We've got less than 2.5 minutes to go. I think we're about 27 minutes away from FP2 getting underway. So we're heading off. I'll have a bit of a break and we'll be back on for Free Practice 2. Max Verstappen off the road at Spoon Curve through turn 13. Make that on the entry to Spoon Curve has just gone slightly off the road and had to recorrect that a little bit there. Minute and a half to go. Turn 16, incident involving Albon and Perez will be investigated after the session for causing a collision. So both Williams cars are not off to a good start, must I admit. They are not off to a good start whatsoever. Charles Leclerc, a bit of traffic up in front. What seems to be one of the McLarens, is that Lando Norris? It's either Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri. Up in front of Charles Leclerc there. Making his run up into Spoon Curve, where we've seen already in this session a lot of drivers struggling to even get through Spoon Curve so far. That will improve, I would think. As we head into FP2, maybe the wind might drop a little bit. Of course, the track is still quite green in the early part of Free Practice 1 here. One thing I've just sort of noticed, the cars are slightly bottoming out through 130R. The floor is sort of scraping on the ground down there at 138. Just shows the amount of speed that they're carrying through there. 3 wide here in Free Practice 1. The Alpine, McLaren and Ferrari. The Ferrari goes up inside and the Alpine has squeezed the McLaren off the road. Wow. Okay, that was close. But whoever that McLaren is, if it's Norris or Piastri, won't be happy whatsoever. He won't be happy at the Ferrari and he won't be happy at the Alpine. Leclerc will be happy at that for going 3 wide and getting the move done without making contact. Well, they did make contact. But whichever one of those Alpines, might have been Colapinto, flippin' heck. Contact galore into turn number 1. Take a look at this. So, the Ferrari storming up on the back of Colapinto. Colapinto moving to the outside. They're 3 wide into turn 1. Contact. Actually, it wasn't contact. There was no contact. I stand corrected. No contact was made, but they were 3 wide into turn 1 in Free Practice 1. The Alpine left the McLaren of, I think, that is Oscar Piastri, 0 room. Almost on the grass and almost off the road. Piastri.
Well, that didn't go well.
I was expecting more of a reaction, but it didn't happen. Check your flag out. So we're about to end this session on a high, must I say. Ending it on a high, must I say here. But George Russell will top Free Practice 1 on 131.6662 for George Russell. If you are to be extremely exact, 132.6662. Yeah. So that is the end of free practice 1. We're just under 20 minutes away from free practice 2 getting underway. So make sure you join me there. Should be very exciting. We'll see who exactly has pace in the early part of the weekend, must I say. But I think there are a few support categories here this weekend, so hopefully those support categories are out on circuit, and hopefully rubber the track in a little bit more before we hit free practice 2. Lando Norris, it's finished that session, 3rd. All the drivers have crossed the line. It's a 1:31.7 for that McLaren. But hopefully we see a bit more rubber down into FP2. Yeah, but yeah, the results for that session: George Russell and Kimi Antonelli, followed by Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen in P7. Looking at Isaac Hadjar making his run now down the front straight into turn 1. Nearly took off the right front suspension from that Cadillac. Hadjar not happy with that. Nearly took off the right front suspension of that Red Bull. Probably the closest I've seen all season to getting a suspension ripped off the Red Bull of that car. Wouldn't have been good in FP2. You can see the glass shards that are on the road down there. I'm surprised, to be completely honest, that the stewards the FIA didn't red flag the session to try and sweep some of that off the circuit, unless they're just going to pick it up at the end of the session. Be more or less smart. Now, practice starts. How bad is this going to end? It didn't go too bad in China, but then yet again we saw the world's quickest lights out we've ever seen in the history of Formula 1 ever. We'll see how that goes. I actually do want to see how this starting formation will work. We know that the blue lights come on. I don't know if that will happen. I'm not even sure what they're doing. This is Bortoletto. Slow down the front straight. Questionable. Interesting. Slow down the front straight there for Gabriel Bortoletto. This is Kimi Antonelli into the chicane. Turn 15, incident involving Hamilton and Verstappen, the two rivals, have been noted. So that incident has been noted. I genuinely have no idea what race control I'm talking about when it comes to those incidents, because TV nowadays don't show all replays of what's happened throughout the session. So we'll see how these incidents come to hand. And if they actually mean anything in FP2. But yeah, we'll see. Practice starts going on though. At the end of FP1, we'll see. Check out the results. And then we'll be getting ready for free practice 2. Speaking of results, let's take a look at them now. At the end of free practice 1, it is George Russell who tops the session over Kimi Antonelli and Lando Norris in the McLaren. McLaren caught up a little bit. We'll have to wait and find out. Oscar Piastri in P4, Charles Leclerc, the Monegasque driver, in position 5. Lewis Hamilton P6, Max Verstappen P7, Liam Lawson, the New Zealander, in P8, Esteban Ocon P9, and Arvid Lindblad in position 10 in the Racing Bulls car, just under a second. When I mean by just under, I mean 0.0001 of a second. Under a second. Gabriel Bortoletto, Nico Hülkenberg, Isaac Hadjar, Oliver Behrman, Pierre Gasly, Franco Colapinto, Carlos Sainz, Alex Albon, Sergio Perez in the Cadillac, and Valtteri Bottas in position 20. Most drivers have run on the soft tyres. All drivers have run on the soft tyres, except Carlos Sainz and Jack Crawford, who did not get many runs out there. Lance Stroll and Jack Crawford, of course, in position 21 and position 22, due to technical / engine dramas. We're not too far away from free practice 2 getting underway. That's just under 20 minutes time, so join me then. Free practice 2, not be too far away. That's actually coming up in not too long time. It will be just under 14 minutes time by the stream ends. So yeah, back for free practice 2, just under 15 minutes time. Catch you then. Bye-bye.